Restoring Men in History, and I'm excited about this one for you men today because I read this book multiple times. It's a classic, Think and Grow Rich, and we want you guys to think and grow rich. We want you guys to have success and reach the mountain, the pinnacle. So, with your goals, we're going to look at 15 reasons for failure. He did the research, Napoleon Hill. It's from the Inspiring Journal, pull it together, Mark John. So we'll give him credit too, because he put them all together from the book. And I've got the book here, and I've read the book. So I'll fill it in as we go. 31 causes of failure is the Mark John piece, but we're going to do 15 today, and then we'll come back and do 16. So we'll read a Napoleon Hill quote to start. Life's greatest tragedy consists of men and women who earnestly try and fail. The tragedy lies in overwhelming large majority of people who fail as compared to the few who succeed. I have had the privilege of analyzing several thousand men and women. He did this. He did it for years, by the way. 98% of whom were classed as, quote, failures. My analysis proved that there are 31 major reasons for failure. Again, we're going to do 15 today and come back and do the last 16. As you go over the list, check yourself by it, point by point, for the purpose of discovering how many of these causes of failure could hold you back, because we want you to go forward. We want you to rise, soar to new heights. So don't let it stand between you and your success and reaching the mountain. So number one, unfavorable hereditary background. So he talks about this. There's little, if anything, which can be done. But here's the thing with people born with brain deficiency. He says, this philosophy offers but one method of bridging the weakness through the aid of the mastermind group. Now, I read about the mastermind group. This is one of the few, he also says, that can hold you back that's not covered by the book. But there's actually a plan for it, the mastermind group, a cigar group, a men's group. Get around other men who can guide you, give you wisdom, mentor you, and bridge that weakness. So the way to go around that, if you were born with a deficiency, get around other men, get in a men's group, get in a gentleman's group, get in a group of men that are smart and virtuous, all right? That's number one. Number two, lack of a well-defined purpose in life. We talk about this all the time. You men need a well-defined purpose in life. You know we mean it, we say it. What does he say? There's no hope for success for the purpose who does not have a central purpose. We agree with that, or a definite goal at which to aim, right? If you're doing an archery target, you got to aim at the target to hit it, right? 98, now get this stat. This is a big stat that he found out in his research. 98 out of every 100 of those whom I analyzed had no such aim. So simply by writing down your goal and pursuing an aim, you can set yourself apart from most men. Isn't that fantastic? I think that's wonderful. Perhaps this was the major cause of the failure. So this is hugely important. We want you to have a goal. We always talk about this, so I'm not going to spend too much time, but have a goal, write it down, go over it, review it. If you can, have an accountability partner, but stay on it, because during and through life, people are going to try to knock you off it, either unintentionally or intentionally, your parents or whomever. So get that goal written down and go for it. How are you going to take action steps if you don't write it down? And you know what to do, and you don't know what you're going after? You've got to have definite purpose to be able to make the plan for it, right? So have definite purpose, and then write down the plan and take action. Then you got to take action. And I don't know how many times I've been asked. I've been asked and told this. There were times I knew exactly what I was doing, what I was going for, and people knew that. And they would say, how did you find that? How did you know exactly what you wanted to do? And I would say, well, I just knew, right? Now, if you don't know what you're supposed to do, then go read books and find out, or go talk to people and experience life so you can find out what your purpose is and create a definite purpose of life. But I don't want to stay too long on this. The point is, I've met so many people. So going to his stats, anecdotally, I met so many people that said, I have had no idea what I'm supposed to do in life my whole life. And they were up there, So they had wandered around their whole lives. And they didn't seem happy about it. Again, if you want to do that, that's fine. We're just trying to help you. If you want to do this, take advantage of it. If you don't. But again, they didn't seem happy. And they kept saying to me one thing that has happened through life, like with the men's groups and other things. You have a purpose. I wish I had a purpose. So I've had so many men tell me, I wish I had a purpose like you. I wish I knew what it was. So this will set you apart, and we could stay in here forever, but let's go on to, so number 3, lack of ambition to aim above mediocrity. We talked about this in the book Good to Great. When we went over to Good to Great, we've got that video if you want to go back and watch it. Lack of ambition to aim above mediocrity. So we want you guys, what does this do for you too? If you set a goal and you aim high, you're going to probably have to stretch to get there. So it's going to grow you as an individual and a man. Aiming above mediocrity. Ayn Rand talked about mediocrity in Atlas Shrugged. So we offer no hope for the person who is so indifferent as to not want to get ahead in life and who is not willing to pay the price. So, do you want to be great? Number two, are you willing to pay the price? Because it's going to take what? Sacrifice. Do you want to strive for greatness or just be mediocre? You have to reach. Do you have ambition? Number four, insufficient education. This is a handicap which may be overcome with comparative ease. Experience has proven that the best educated people are often those who are known as self-made or self-educated. George Washington was mainly self-educated. What was George Washington always trying to do? He had that rules for civility, trying to better himself. And look, he rose to the complete top, the richest man in Virginia, and then went on to become the first president of the United States, called the founding father of a country, involved in the whole country's history, commanding general of the armies. We could stop here and talk about George Washington, but here's the point. He was self-educated. He didn't have much education. By the way, another thing about his hereditary background, and he would be good to wrap this up. His father was gone. His mother, he didn't get along with. She was rather mean. So he rose out of that hereditary bad background, and he had to self-educate himself. It takes more than a college degree to make one a person of education. I've talked to many people who went for the master's and other degrees who said they never read a book after that. Keep growing, keep learning, keep reading. Any person who is educated is one who has learned to get whatever he wants in life without violating the rights of others. There's a key. We want you guys to have success, but it can be a win-win for people, right? It can be a win-win. Education consists not so much of knowledge, but of knowledge effectively and persistently applied. So you can read something, but if you don't apply it, it's not going to make much of a difference, is it? Men are paid not merely for what they know, but more particularly for what they do with what they know, right? So this is a fantastic time to self-educate. You got the whole internet, libraries full of books that we can never get to. In fact, my most frustrating thing in life is that I can't read all the books I want to. I just can't get to them. I have this huge list of books, enormous, really. It's this enormous list of, I have books on Kindle, Nook, hardcover books, paperback books. I have all these books that I want to read constantly, and I read every day, and I can't get to them. The point is this: you can self-educate yourself. You have a world of opportunity. As one likes to say, the world is your oyster for education right now. George Washington, self-educated. Number 5, lack of self-discipline. So we talk a lot about discipline. It's incredibly important. I don't know how long we'll cover this because we do talk about it. Discipline comes through what? Self-control. This means that one must control all negative qualities. What do we talk about? Control your thoughts, control your mind, man. You have control over it too. And a lot of these, here's the great and beauty of this 31 causes of failure. Guess what? You control it. This is internal. You can choose these. You can do this. You can execute this as men. So it's a choice. You will do it or you will not. Before you can control conditions, you must first control whom? Yourself. Right? You got to learn to control yourself, man. Self-mastery is the hardest job you will ever tackle. If you do not conquer self, you will be what? Conquered by self. You may see at one and the same time both your best friend, I love this line, your best friend and your greatest enemy by stepping in front of the mirror. The great thing, you have control over this. It's not about position, title, or how much wealth you have today. These things were given you, you can choose to do. So, self-mastery. Work on yourself, control your thoughts and your mind. Conquer self. Then you can go out and do whatever you wish. 6, ill health. Now, not everybody can control this. Some people are born with really bad health, or they develop bad health, or you have a bad car accident. But there's some things you can control. No person may enjoy outstanding success without good health. RFK is working on your health right now, I believe. Many of the causes of ill health are subject to mastery and control. Mastery and control. These are the main ones. Overeating of food, not conducive to health. A. Now listen, Americans are way overweight. I think the CDC says 70% of Americans are overweight. And what does obesity do? Obesity leads to heart disease, which is one of the top killers in America. You know, people like to talk about the other things. gunshots and other things. Obesity leads to heart disease. Can you control obesity? Most people can. Eat less, eat better food, right? This is something, again, in your control. Wrong habits of thoughts, B. We talk about this all the time. You've got to control your thoughts, your mind. Don't give in to negatives. Think positively, but also analytically. If you're making a mistake somewhere, take notice of it and change it. How you think, right? If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you probably can't, right? C, wrong use and overindulgence in sex. So don't let sex control you. D, lack of proper physical exercise. You can take a walk, right? And they say, and I've read these studies, that sitting all day long, and we're a very sedentary society. We drive to meetings, well, some of us do. We sit at the meeting. We sit on the computers working. I don't know what your job is. If you're a plumber, I guess you're a little bit out more. So lack of proper physical exercise. Can you take a walk a few times a week, 45 minutes or 30 minutes? It's good for you. A bunch of articles talk about how good walking is for you. Also, when you're walking, you can think of stories you want to write or something else you want to do or your goals. You can contemplate and reflect or just relax. You can choose to go lift heavy weights. I know when I finish this tonight, when I finish this video, I'm going to Gold's Gym and I'm going to lift heavy weights, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm anticipating. I'm excited to go build these muscles, all right? So keep maintaining them, really. I've already built them. So you can maintain these muscles and hit the heavy weights tonight at Gold's Gym. I'm looking forward to that. So your health, something, again, you can control. 7, unfavorable environmental influences during childhood. Quote, he has a quote here, as the twig is bent, so shall the tree grow. Most people who have criminal tendencies acquire them as a result of a bad environment and improper associates during childhood. So what do you have a choice on here? If you have an uninvolved father who never spent much time to you but lived in the house with you, but he was kind of terrible, or a bad father that got you involved in bad projects and wasted your time, whatever you have in life, or just an absent father, a gone father, a drunk father, I don't know what it is for you. But there's so many uninvolved fathers, and there's so many just absent fathers, so many men missing fathers today. So how do you correct that? Or other bad environmental factors. You're just super poor and hungry and starving all the time. Be many bad factors in an environment growing up. So what can you do? You're probably the average of the 5 people you spend the time with most, we usually say. We read that. So pick some good people to hang around. That's something, again, that you can control. You got a bad father? Pick 5 good people to hang around. Because a lot of the criminals, you're going to become the average of the people you hang around. So what's going to happen if you hang around with 5 criminals all the time? 8, procrastination. This is an enormous point for you. We don't want you to procrastinate. This is, let's read his line. This is one of the most common causes of failure. Old man procrastination stands within the shadow of every human being, waiting his opportunity to spoil one's chances of success. Most of us go through life as failures because we are waiting, and this is true. I've come across this. Waiting for the, quote, time to be right, to start doing something worthwhile. Do not wait. The time will never be just right. This is so true. Usually, so it's never going to be perfect. The time's probably never going to be right. You got to get going, guys. So let me read the final thing. And this is a good point. Start where you stand. And this, I love this line. I remember reading it the first time. It struck me. Start where you stand and work with whatever tools you may have at your command. And better tools will be found as you go along. Now, I'm going to say this too. If you get started, what else is going to happen? You're going to build skills. And you're going to have to build skills with less capital, less tools. So you may be creative and imaginative. I mean, I remember reading some of the stories about films when they didn't have enough money, and some of the most creative scenes were where they didn't have the money, the jaw shark and other things. So that was a great example. You should be getting better as you're going, though. What happens if you never start? You're never going to get the experience. You're never going to grow in wisdom from that. So you'll get better. You'll get better tools as you go. Here's the key, and I've heard this, I've experienced this from people who've told me, I wish I'd done this, I wish I'd done this, and they have a lot of regrets that they never tried it. So the other thing this will prevent is you having regrets for not trying things. Start with what you've got, man, and go. Make a plan, go. Let me give you some examples when I was at the start of events. Sometimes you have to start with a minimum viable project and less capital than you want. Now, they also warned against starting with too less. Low budget films. Sometimes you have to make a low budget film to do what? To prove you can do it to investors, to show you have the skills, to get better. How are you going to learn the skills if you never make it? You may make a couple of films that are really bad, but how would you have gotten that experience of getting that out of your system? You got to get going. Whatever it is, startup company. Also at the startup events, what did the people say? Get a good team together. And they said this: if you got a good team and you fail the first time, that's okay, we'll still invest in you. So you want to get out there and start getting experience. So do not wait for the perfect time. Do not wait for things to be perfect. Number 9, lack of persistence. Most of us are good starters, but poor finishers of everything we begin. Have you noticed that? Have you ever experienced that? When you start things, do you usually finish them? Moreover, people are prone to give up at the first signs of defeat. There is no substitute for persistence. Couldn't agree with this more. Persistence wins. Most people don't have it. So again, you're going to have another advantage if you can do these things. The person who makes persistent his watchword discovers that old man failure finally becomes tired, and I love this line too, and makes his departure. This is a great book, Thnk and Grow Rich. It's a fantastic book. We're going to come back and do more from this book. Failure cannot cope with what? Persistence. So persistence is such a key for you men, because so many people do give up. And they might be right at success. There's a point in the book where he tells a story of a guy right at success and he gives up. They meet an obstacle, they give up. They meet a problem, they give up. And see problems as opportunities for you to be creative and imaginative and solve it and grow. See, problems are opportunities for you men to grow. They're opportunities for you to challenge yourself, build skills. And the bigger the goals, probably the more problems you're going to face, right? You can try to build a film company for $12.5 million, raise money for a film company for $12.5 million. That's a bigger challenge than trying to sell Tootsie Rolls on the street, right? Number 10, negative personality. This happens all the time. I've seen it in corporate America. I've seen it everywhere. I've seen people destroy themselves. You ever been sitting in a meeting and those people just keep being argumentative for no reason, and everybody's trying to get out. We want to get out, right, and start selling. And there's that one person that's holding the meeting up just with total negativity of every single thing in the company, which is not going to change anything, which is not going to help anything. They're not going to listen to that girl or person or guy. They're not going to listen to that guy or girl. For the most part, when I was in the meetings, they were shutting down because of the way that guy or girl said it, because of how hostile it was. You can shut people down with a negative personality, if you want to say it that way. You directly attack people and you want something changed. I don't think that's going to be a magnificent way to accomplish it. So there's a very negative way a lot of these people have come across in meetings that I've seen and in life, and many of them don't have any good friends. Quote, there's no hope of success for the person who repels people through a negative personality. Success comes through the application of power, and power is attained how? Through the cooperative efforts of other people. A negative personality will not include cooperation. We just talked about it. I've seen it. So those people also can bring attention every time you're around them. And what happens? You don't want to be around them. Like, I would avoid those people because they were so hostile and angry at everything and everybody, and nothing made them happy. There are certain people like that. So you don't want to be that, because then people will probably avoid you, right? And do you want to be around negative people yourself? Ask yourself that question. Do you want to be around people that build you up and edify you, or tear you down constantly? 11, lack of controlled sexual urge. Sex energy is the most powerful of all the stimuli which move people into action. Because it is the most powerful of the emotions, it must be controlled through transmutation and converted into other channels. So what is he talking about here? I've read the book. I know what he means. Channel that energy into your goals, into your definitive purpose, into your purpose. Okay? That's it. Channel the sexual energy into the purpose. Again, these are just tips if you want. I think the main point is to not let it control you and take you away from your goals, right? I think that's the main point. Channel some of that energy, sexual energy, into your goals, into your mission, into your life purpose. All right, let's go on. Number 12. Uncontrolled desire for something for nothing. The gambling instinct drives millions of people to failure. Evidence of this may be found in a study on the Wall Street crash of '29, during which millions of people try to make money by gambling on stock margins. So, you're going to give up something for success, man. You're going to have to do what? What's the key word? Sacrifice. Again, I'm not going to go through what things we've talked about, but you might have to sleep on the floor in a garage, whatever you have to do, but you're going to have to give up something. Maybe you have to give up dinners. Maybe you have to give up more. I don't know what you're going to have to do, but you're going to have to give up this time and energy for sure, and probably money. So be prepared to give up time, energy, and money and sacrifice for your goals, dreams, purpose. 13, lack of a well-defined power decision. Men who succeed reach decisions promptly and change them, if at all, very slowly. Men who fail to reach decisions, if at all, very slowly, and change them frequently and quickly. Indecision and procrastination are twin brothers. Where one is found, the other may usually be found also. Kill off the pair before they hog tie you to the treadmill of failure. So, reach a decision, men. Stick with it unless you get new information or something, right? These are guidelines. You may have to adjust them, but reach a decision, make it, and what? Get going. And what else will this do? If your girlfriend, if your wife, if the people around you know that when you reach a decision, you stick to it, they're going to have more confidence in you. If the people working with you and for you know that when you reach a decision, you're going to stick with it, they will have more trust in you and confidence in you, that you don't just change your mind arbitrarily every day. It happened all the time, by the way. In the film industry, I was working with this one guy who was a writer, and he said the producers changed their mind all the time. For a month, they wanted to do the write on this particular script. Then the next month, something else was hot, and they had him change the whole script. So they weren't decisive as producers, and it was driving the writer bananas. And they kept gangster films became hot, so they had him do that. Then something else became hot. Then aliens, and they said put some aliens in it. So he was going crazy. So reach a decision and get going. And this will give people trust and confidence. And again, it'll put you far apart of others, because there are a lot of indecisive people. There are a lot of people who don't know what they want. 14, we're going to have to go fast. One or more of the 6 basic fears. The fear of criticism, the fear of ill health, the fear of loss of love of someone, the fear of old age, the fear of death. These must be mastered before you can market your services effectively. We'll come back to that. 15, wrong selection, and this is a very important one as well. 15, wrong selection of a mate in marriage. This is the most common cause of failure, according to him, during his research. The relationship of marriage brings people intimately into contact. Unless the relationship is harmonious, failure is likely to follow. Moreover, it will be a form of failure that is marked by, and I know this, misery and unhappiness, because people have told me. Many people and men have told me how unhappy they were in marriage. Destroying all signs of ambition. I remember Sony Pictures, I'll never forget, I was on the elevator with a guy, and he said, "You're not married, are you?" And I said, "No." He said, "Never get married. All I do is work for my wife on the weekends. She gives me a list of what I have to do on the weekend, and I have to do it." Now listen, he could have stood up to her. I'm not saying that's correct, whatever the case may be. The point is this. We don't have time to go into this because I want to wrap this up today. But when you're picking a wife, picking a mate, it's vastly important. First, you got to date them, ask them questions, get to know them. I guess we should do a whole video on how to pick a mate. Just suggestions. You pick the one you want. Again, we're just trying to help you and give suggestions. You pick the girl you want. But I think you need to have some values. Definitely your virtues must be in alignment. Your religion. How are you going to raise the kids? Do you want kids? So all those need to be talked about way ahead, and you need to date them. And you, as the man, need to drive the questions and ask those, and you need to be aware and know it. Do you have the same interest? You can have some that are different because of the complemented nature of men and women. You can be complementary with each other. That's fine. You don't have to have everything in common. In fact, some of it may be great. She will enrich and bring you to things that you may not have done. That's fine. But you got to have some common. You got to have the virtues, same religion, and all that. I think those virtues and the same religion and the same philosophy and outlook, conservative versus liberal. I don't think a conservative should marry a leftist. So you got to have a lot in common. Values, virtues, and one last thing. I think you got to have chemistry, passion. It's a woman, it's not a man, so you've got to have an attraction. There's got to be an attraction there, and it can last. So that is number 15. Make sure you pick the right wives if you're going to get married. These things we hope help you. So I hope you can avoid these causes of failure and reach success. Thank you.